Prabhu.
Yep.
So Acyuta Krishna Dasa, he actually, this is very interesting for me because I've experienced that devotees that haven't met Narayana Maharaj seem to have some quite magical connection with him, even though they may not have met him. Or I've met devotees who have met him no times and just got initiated on Skype, or have come to our Sangha after Gurudev disappeared and do an incredible seva. So this is very interesting and very, very beautiful, very, very dear to my heart to introduce you, Prabhu. I'm told you met the devotees in 2012 and you took Harinam and Diksha from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj, who I met, who is an incredible personality. We were very fortunate to have his association. You worked on this Prabhu has worked on the revised version of the Ratha Yatra book, has been donating to GVP, has served the Badger Festival, and also has the relishable experience of serving our beautiful Srimati Shamarani Didi. So, Acyuta Prabhu, I welcome you with a warm embrace, and the audience is very sweet. No one bites on this, no one bites at all. Everybody's very sweet. They just want you to share your heart. So
that's perfect.
Over to you. Oh, and you're from Los Angeles. I forgot to say you're coming in from LA.
Yeah, I'm a little south of Los Angeles, closer to. If any of you have visited the U.S. And if you have been to the beautiful Sri Panchatattva Mandir in Laguna Beach, I'm very close to that temple. It was during Srila Prabhupada's time. It was called New Jharkhand. But it's one of the only temples in the U.S. that has deities of Sri Panchatattva.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I just want to make an offering to Srila Narayan, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosvami Maharaj before I start. So I'm just going to sing a bhajan for him before we go. Okay. So the bhajan is Suni Ache Sadhu Mukhe by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Suniya che sadhu mukhe bole sarva jana Shri Rupa kripaya mile jugala charana Prabhu sanatana Gaura parivara sabe mili vancha purna karo amara Shri Rupa kripa jeno mama pratihaya Shri Rupa kripa Se padashraya jara se mahashaya se padashraya jara se mahashaya Prabhu Lokanatha kabe sange laya jabe Shri Rupaya pada padma more samarpive Shri Rupa pada padma more samarpive Heno ki horibe mora dharma sakhi gane Heno ki horibe mora dharma sakhi gane Anugata narotame Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Prabhu hai, Prabhu hai, Prabhu hai, Prabhu hai. So this bhajan I sang for a couple of reasons. One because our very dear Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj had a lot of affection for Sri Rupa Goswami, and because adopting the mood of Sri Rupa Goswami, he gave us so many different literatures, so many different books, like Ujjwal Nilamani and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then later on, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's adaptation of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. So he had a lot of focus on giving very high literatures from Srila Rupa Goswami to us. And also remember very fondly this beautiful song, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, which he had one of his disciples sing for Srila Prabhupada as he was leaving the world. So we know that he was Rupa Goswami is very dear to him. So I just wanted to pay him my obeisances via this bhajan. So I know that I have a short period of time here. So what I did is I tried to jot down some of the thoughts I had in my mind about Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. So I'm going to take a little bit of a detour so you get a little bit of taste of how I got to know Maharaj. So my spiritual journey started as a young child, and initially, I was attracted to Sri Ram, who was worshipped very fondly in my family growing up. And occasionally, my family would take me to the ISKCON temple in my hometown, Mumbai. And so I went to Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji's temple there. And I remember my first image as a child was walking in there and seeing the murtis of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bombay temple is unique because it's one of those temples where the murtis are directly facing the deities, and I've not seen that in a lot of other temples. So when I first saw them, my impression was, these are real people, and they're like super serious and looking at the deities. But that left, that temple left a lasting impression on me. And then as a teenager, I started reading some small books by Srila Prabhupada. Later on in my life, I settled in the US, and I went to the Sri Panchatattva temple here in Laguna Beach. And I started taking some strides in Krishna consciousness. There was sadhu sang, there was Harikatha, there was prasadam. And, there was serving the devotees, which comes as a part of, being part of a sangha. So I started to look upon some of the gurus in ISKCON, and one time, in fact, I even walked up to one of them who really inspired me and still inspires me. But for one reason or the other, someone intervened, and it was just not a very pleasant exchange at that point, and I just took it as a sign. So thereafter, some other unfortunate things happened. A devotee was not treated well, and that was it for me. I just stopped visiting the temple. And for a long time, I just was spiritually lost. I didn't see the, a lot of the teachings translate into behaviors, and I was just disappointed and not sure where I want to go next. So that happened. That continued for several months, and we have a festival here called Bhakti Fest in the US, and my wife actually recommended that I go there, and maybe I will meet some other people, maybe there'll be some other awakening, something new. So I went there, and I was very fortunate. I actually met some disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj for the first time. One of the first disciples I met was Vasanti Didi and Krishnamai Didi, and I was just blown away by their simplicity, and they were so sweet and so approachable, and they were not pushy. They were not trying to impress me about anything. But as they say, once burned, twice shy. So I was taking it easy. I was taking my time. But as I glanced through the book table, I noticed the high quality of the publications, and I was not sure if I should pick anything up. But then I asked her what she recommends, and she realized my mood, and she recommended that I take a book called Our Eternal Nature. And it's a very small book, and for me, it was enough to give me a sense of what is this sangha about, and what is Maharaj's style, and so on and so forth. So I went back to my hotel, and I read the book, and I was amazed at Narayana Maharaj's ability to decipher scriptures and to put things across with such a easy relationship to the soul and our existence. And while reading that book, I felt that deep spiritual connection with Maharaj for the first time. It was like an existential fire had just been fed all over again. So I returned back the next day, and I went ahead and got some more books. And again, I was met with a lot of simplicity. There was no, there was no big deal made out of anything. And so it made me wonder, who are these devotees? Who are these people that their minds are so peaceful and they're so full of love? And above and beyond that, who is this great soul that has purified their hearts? And because I was in need of sangha, I was wondering, will they accept me? Would I have to break in before I earn their association? What would I have to do? So these were some of the thoughts that were going on in my mind. And I was there at the fest for 4 or 5 days, and every day I would come back. And sometimes we ended up doing Sankirtan together. And as I associated with these devotees, they engaged me with Srimati Shamrani Didi. And I was given the opportunity thereafter to associate with them and to help with the Rath Yatra book, where I worked with Vajanti Mala Didi in Vrindavan, and with Madhukar Das Prabhu as well. And in the process of working on that book, I actually read the book very thoroughly. It's a different thing when you're trying to translate, and you're trying to help in that process. So now you really need to be in the details, right? So I read that book, and I learned so much about the intimate pastimes of Sri Neelamadha, the mood of the gopis, wanting to take Krishna from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. And Maharaj elaborated extensively in the book on the external and internal reasons for the appearance of the deities. So all this nectarian Harikatha, it deeply affected me. And I would say that, the best way to get Maharaj's mercy was to really serve him through his disciples. And this is when I first started experiencing, how merciful Maharaj is. And although I have never met Gurudev in his manifest pastimes, I have since then, been exposed to him through his books and his disciples, and through many other pure devotees that I met because I knew his disciples, including my Param Pujya Diksha Guru and Harinam Guru, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Gosvami Maharaj, who I met because of the grace of Srimati Shamrani Didi. She introduced me to him. And I met Maharaj several times and waited over the years until Maharaj was really in a position where he was offering Harinam and Diksha. Had it not been for Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada and Srimati Shamrani Didi, I don't think I would have received the mercy of a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav Guru. And through Srila Gurudev, I learned a lot about myself. I learned to analyze my own behavior and learned many lessons on Vaishnav etiquette from his Harmony book, which too I worked briefly with Shamrani Didi. She was doing a presentation for Europe, where they go on preaching tours in the past. So I helped her with making that presentation, and again, it really helped me understand Maharaj's mood. How he focuses on avoiding Vaishnava Aparadha and avoiding criticizing Vaishnavas and in particular, and anybody out there. And in the process, I got to link his mood with the mood of my Gurudev, which is very aligned, of course. My Gurudev calls him his Sat Tirtha Bhrata, his god brother. So they had a very close relationship, and so there is no there is no surprise then that their moods are aligned as well. I got to know about Srila Gurudev's intense love for his disciples, by interacting with them. He has affected his disciples so deeply, his mamata, his reproach, his nectarian katha, the kirtans that were very dear to him. So I started to memorize and learn the kirtans that were very dear to him, like Sri Nandanandanashtakam and Sri Radhe Jai Jai Madhav Daite, or Rajajana Manasukakari, right? I was all over those kirtans, and lo behold, suddenly I was reading kirtans by Srila Narottam Das Thakur and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and I was so immersed in them. So all of this kripa is manifest because of Maharaj and his disciples, who have so much love for the Vaishnavas. After memorizing these kirtans and the words of the acharyas, they start to enter your heart, and you pray that the same mood that these acharyas have in their heart come to you. So Srimati Shamrani Didi says, may your words be my words, may your heart be my heart, right? So someday we hope that the words of the acharyas be our words, and then those words really manifest in our heart, and they also manifest in our actions, that we get inspired by them. So my eagerness to meet Gurudev as a process of all these developments was growing by the day, but I knew I had missed the opportunity. I knew I was in a relationship of separation with Maharaj. And the more mercy I got from him, the more I missed him. And there were times when I cried. And one day in my meditation, he appeared with Srila Prabhupada. And one time he appeared in a dream. He was seated on this beautiful throne like a king. And there was this voice that introduced me to him. And it was just beautiful. I just fell at his feet, and that's all I remember. Waking up very, very, very happy and blissful that I finally got to meet him. So I know that my love for Srila Prabhupada has grown even more thanks to Srila Narayana Maharaj. And when I learned about the hardships and the censorship that he faced, in his endeavor to help some of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada to take them to the next level, to develop and advance them, my respect for him grew even more. And there was almost this feeling of frustration, why he was treated like that. Why would a pure devotee be blasphemed? And I knew that there was a mercy, that I was no longer in the midst of devotees who had committed such heavy aparadh towards him. And because of, and I feel like, it was Srila Prabhupada's mercy that I got to meet Maharaj through his books and his disciples. And I saw reflections of the same selflessness that Maharaj had in my own Gurudev, who at the age of 90, he gave up his association with Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math to serve his Gurudev, his Gurudev's mood. And I feel like such fearless Vaishnavas are really the wealth of our lives. If we can be associating with them, their words, there's no doubt that we'll be carried across this material ocean. Only they can deliver us from the chains of Maya, which are so powerful. Thanks to my Guru Parampara, I'm developing some taste for Harinam, and I feel confident about my spiritual journey going forward. Srila Gurudev has spent gallons of blood to make temples in the hearts of his disciples and so many devotees who are reading his books. And I always remember Maharaj's words where he says, he's closer to us than the air we breathe. That's all. I always remember that whenever I'm feeling down, or I feel like I'm not making progress, or I'm doing things that are opposed to bhakti, right? and he's always nourishing my consciousness through his divine Harikatha, which I try to listen as much as I can. Thanks to some of the restored audios, files that are now available, and through many other older files in his books. So I'm very thankful to his disciples and to everybody who's been associated with the audiobook seva. I think you guys have done a great job at bringing Maharaj to the masses. And Maharaj is, and all this is helping nourish my consciousness through his katha, and giving me the opportunity to reflect on my anarthas. Whether I visit Maharaj's Pushpa Samadhi in Badger or his Sakshat Samadhi in Sridham Mayapur, I've been to his room in Badger, in Puri, in Vrindavan. I feel him, I miss him, and I embrace the separation in the hope that one day we'll meet eternally, and we'll associate, and we'll do bhajan, we'll do Harikatha, and when he love me, reproach me, and accept me. So I'm thankful for the love of his disciples, which has been unconditional, pure, and uplifting. I can never repay their debt. And my dear Guru, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, would often quote the words of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, saying, Vaishnav Charitra Sarvata Pavitra. The character of a Vaishnav is always holy and pure and auspicious. And another favorite quote which I want to use from Maharaj is, Jai Vaishnav Bhajile Achintya Krishna Pai, Se Vaishnava Puja Hoite Bada Aranai. So this is from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Antya Khanda, chapter 4, verse 357. And the translation is, by serving the lotus feet of Vaishnavas, one attains the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, who is Achintya or inconceivable. And then there is no greater sadhan than this. It is impossible to approach the transcendental Lord through the means of the material senses. In the conditioned stage in which the jiva is bound by many material desires, he cannot think about the Achintya Krishna with his mind, nor can he see him with his eyes. He becomes qualified to attain the inconceivable Lord's mercy only after he takes the complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. So Srila Gurudev gave us Vraja Bhakti. He expounded extensively on the message of the Acharyas, and he did so without examining our qualifications. His only requirement was firm faith and nishtha in Sri Guru and transcendental greed, right? Api lolyam what's that verse? Api lolyam mulyam ekalam, right? When there's only one cost for achieving that transcendental love, that lolyam, the greed, to achieve divine love. So if we examine Srila Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita, right, which I'm a big fan of, and I have a whole box sitting here in my house, and if I have any opportunity, I give it out to anybody I can. But I feel like it's the best Bhagavad Gita commentary that I've come across. Maharaj so skillfully he has combined commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur along with his own divine commentaries. And it leaves, although the Bhagavad Gita can, lead one towards Vedic Bhakti, but Maharaj has done this invaluable seva for all Vaishnavas, where he has built that impregnable bridge between Vedic Bhakti to Raganuga Bhakti. Even while reading, the Bhagavad Gita, one gets a sense for that, and one can only hope and imagine, what it'd be to take the next level up, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's made these beautiful commentaries available, and I think he's promoting the transcendental greed amongst all of us. He has worked tirelessly over the years. I remember our Guru Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj, once approached Srila Narayana Maharaj and said, "Maharaj, your Hindi is just amazing, and you should really be preaching extensively, because you are such a master communicator with the language." And Maharaj had said that he would love to, but at that point he was having some health issues. So my Gurudev actually offered to take him up to Kolkata, and he introduced him to a doctor. And after he started taking a different diet and medication, and the diet was primarily, I believe, rice and raw bananas. So he was taking a very austere diet. After that, his health improved a lot, and he actually came back to Gurudev and said, now I'm going to go out and start preaching with all my power. So there was a very sweet relationship between them. And again, going back to the so many different books that are available to us thanks to Maharaj. There's Jayavadharm, the Madhurya Kadambini is out now, but it was available in Hindi. The Rath Yatra book, the Prem Samputa, Bhajan Rahasya, Gopi Geet. I mean, the list goes on and on. Again, the devotees, due to their unlimited mercy, they descend to the platform on which we currently stand, so that we can relate to them and associate with them and purify our consciousness. By this, one day we can directly associate with Bhagwan and serve him. So this is why Krishna has announced in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm going to quote from the 11th canto, chapter 19, verse 21. Adara pancharayam sarvangir abhivandanam madbhakta pujya vyadika sarva bhuteshu manmate. Here Krishna says, only those who serve my dear devotees with great love and offer themselves completely through mind, body, and words are capable of pleasing me completely. Mad bhakta pujya abhyadika. Worshipping, that is serving, the lotus feet of my devotees is greatly superior to serving me directly. So again, I'm quoting my Gurudev, although it is impossible for us to serve the lotus feet of Bhagwan in our present condition, his devotees are capable of performing such service, and they can therefore engage us in the service by bringing our offerings directly to him. Furthermore, the devotees know well the likes and dislikes of Bhagwan, even more so than Bhagwan himself. In reality, it is only through the devotees that we can serve the Lord. But how can we serve the Lord, the feet of such personalities after their disappearance from the vision of this world? Well, we can serve them by remembering them, by contemplating and adopting their highly exemplary conduct, and by sharing and distributing their teachings to others, so that the others also may establish a relationship with them. With that, I would, like to take a pause here and, thank everyone for including me on this call, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Acyuta Krishna. Thank you so much. That was thank you firstly for trusting us with a very tender expression of your heart's journey, especially at the beginning when you were talking about the disappointment with devotees in ISKCON. I felt that sense of wilderness that you must have felt as you were expressing that. And I'm familiar with the Bhakti Festival because I know Vasanti and Shamrani so well, and I know their mood. Vasanti's mood is so engaging, and I think you used the word several times, the simplicity of heart. It's very, very attractive and very easy to feel peaceful when you're around that type of association. And I think it really also teaches us all how we behave is an example. We are ambassadors for our gurus. So how we behave, whether someone knows that Narayana Maharaj or Srila Bhakti Maharaj is our guru or not, it doesn't matter. We are ambassadors every minute of the day for our gurus. And it was very sweet that you, I didn't know that you served with Vajanti Mala, because she lives in my apartment in Vrindavan.
Oh, okay.
I'm very close to her. In fact, I read with her this morning. I've been reading Chaitanya Charitamrita with her for 4 years. And
Nice.
She's absolutely total diamond. I really appreciated how you touched on the power of Gurudev's books, because Gurudev was very, very, very aware of how his spirit and his teachings and his particular speciality would be carried through his extraordinary books. And actually, in many ways, the barriers, the so-called barriers between ISKCON and Gaudiya Math and ISKCON and our Sangha, I don't really see these barriers. People talk about these barriers. They're coming down, they're crashing down all the time, because these books are circulating everywhere. And when people read these books, if they have any devotional proclivity within them, they can see how true they are, how they resonate with the heart. And his harmony book is a very, very special book because it's so incredibly practical. It helps us in our day-to-day behavior. You know, it's important to have the high topics, understand the goal, how Gurudev is so expert at defining our goal of Manjari Bhav, but also so expert at giving us very basic instructions like don't criticize, which seems like an easy thing to do, but unless you repeat and repeat and repeat it, this can easily destroy our bhakti. I wanted to emphasize something you said, and in some ways I'm saying this for myself, but I'm saying it for everybody here. When we perform kirtan or we read a book, then to go in our mind to the writer of the book and ask for his mood to be imbibed in our hearts is essential. Like this morning, I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita with Vajanti Mala, who you mentioned, and about 5 minutes into the reading, I suddenly remembered, oh, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I must pray to him that he can imbibe something of that mood of Mahaprabhu, of his relationship with Mahaprabhu in me as I read the book. And I immediately felt a shift in that consciousness. So I think that point you made, I'd like to emphasize because I think it really helps. This is all about connection. As Krishna Kanta said during our 59-hour glorification of Srila Gurudev, Krishna consciousness is not a religion, it's a relationship. And how do you have relationship? Sambandha, connection. And how do you get connection? By consciously connecting ourselves to these manifestly merciful personalities who are willing and ready and wanting, like Nityananda Prabhu Shakti that they are, to bestow as much mercy on us as possible. All we have to do is wave our hand and say, please throw that bucket of pure water on our head. You know, that's all we have to ask for, and it will come. And this is what you were emphasizing. And one last thing I thought was very beautiful in what you said was how he would accept us without examining our qualifications. And something I repeat quite often to myself as much as anything else is that the first lesson in humility is that we're not qualified. We're not qualified for any of this bhakti. But the second lesson of humility is it actually doesn't matter we're not qualified, because as long as we have that nishtha you were talking about in Guru, in Srila Narayana Maharaj and Srila Bharati Maharaj, as long as we have that faith that they can transport us across the river of Maya, across the ocean of Maya. We don't have to have faith in ourselves. We just have to have faith in them. And it doesn't matter we're not qualified, because we are qualified because they say we are. We're qualified because they have invited us on the boat of bhakti. That's all we need. We don't have to worry about are we a good or a bad person? Am I guilty of this? Am I not guilty of this? We just have to follow Guru, have that Guru Nishtha, and we will get to the other side. We keep it very simple. And this is what the Guru relationship is all about. So, Prabhu, thank you for getting to the heart of the matter, bringing me closer to Srila Gurudev. That was a really beautiful offering.